This is the Chad Factor coming at you live. This is a review of the movie Birth of a Nation, directed by Nate Parker, and it's the story of um, Nate Parker. I personally give the movie a 9 out of 10. I am not a fan of slave movies. I have seen Goodbye Uncle Tom. I have seen Mandingo 1 and 2, and I have seen the entire edition of Roots. I would have to say the worst of the movies that shows the treatment of slavery was Goodbye Uncle Tom to me. The reason I give Birth of a Nation a 9 out of 10 is because that it shows rebellion against slavery. Now, in the movie, it shows that his father was take food, trying to take food from the slave master and trying to deliver it to his family, and then gets caught by a couple of white slave catchers. And then what happens is that he gets caught, but ends up running away and shooting one of the white men. He goes back home and gives the food to his family, and then he has to run away. And then what happens is that they come to the house and question them, and then they have to automatically leave. No, and then they question the family, get in their face, and then the white masters leave, and then they realize how smart Nat Turner is, and teach him how to read, and teach him to go inside. Then he has to go back to the field to get inside, and the basis of the movie is how he was being used as a preacher to teach black people how to be passive, how to be, needy, and how to be compliant to the slave master. That's what his job was to do. Now he wasn't getting paid for this, but his master was getting paid by other slave owners and by other slave masters about how he preaches to subservience to slavery. But then as he reads on, and then when I believe one of the pivotal scenes was when he was seeing the treatment of other people during slavery. When he was on his he saw two slaves getting force fed their food. One got punched in the face. Another one used a hammer and a you know what I'm talking about, a hammer and something like a wrench, and was poking the teeth out and force feeding the slaves their food. When he began seeing the people's faces, he began to have a new message, and they didn't know that he was trying to spread a different message to people in terms of fighting back and going against slavery. And when they were doing this, they didn't know that. But as he was getting more amped up, he began going after the masters, talking back to the other white people who were around him, and almost getting into fights. And the slave master had to basically slap him, and the other guy had to tie him up and whoop him. And that's what happened. And also, there's a scene in there where his girlfriend. It doesn't show the actual scene, but it shows his wife getting raped, beaten and raped, but it doesn't show the graphic scene. So that's also what happened. So with seeing the treatment of slaves and seeing his wife's bruised and battered face, gets him up to go and rebel against the institution of slavery. And what happens is that he managed to get a band together and get black people together, and even gets a young boy to come with him. And at the late at night, they end up killing the slave master and the people were visiting and some of his family. They didn't kill some of the white women who were taking care of him, which you can call it what it is, but when you research the story of Nat Turner, he killed children, men, women, and children, but no children were killed. But it did show the graphic scene of the white people getting killed, but it was men, women, and children. So, I guess that's the only complaint that people have and that I have. But overall, I still say it was a good movie. And then what happened was that um, you had the final battle, and it was an all-out battle for freedom. It was against some white slave catchers and some and the rest of the slaves. So he pretty much lost almost his whole army when he went against them. He survived with a couple others, but then even though they defeated them, and then some people with coats came out and were using fire cannons. And when they start using the fire cannons, that's when they had to retreat. And after about a couple of weeks, he had to turn himself in because many hundreds of black people were getting killed because of Nat Turner. So he had to turn himself in. And when you see the actual round of people, they was yelling at him, cursing at him. It was a crowd of white people with some black people. Oh, and by the way, the little boy that was in the rebellion was the one that betrayed him and the whole other group. Forgot to mention that. But at the end of the movie, when he got caught, they ended up having to actually hang him at the day, which was sad. But it's a better movie in terms of people rebelling against slavery, not seeing the subservient, not seeing just a whooping, and seeing the crude of white men raping black women on screen. Whooping and them not doing anything back. That's why I like the movie, because it actually showed. Now, do I believe there should have been more rebellion and more fighting? Sure, but I'm just saying, after if you, and by the way, I haven't seen Runaway Slave. I'm never going to see it. But if you see Goodbye Uncle Tom and Roots and Mandingo, which Mandingo did have some fighting in it too, you'll appreciate people rebelling against slavery and going against it and not being subservient to it and not letting them get away with it. So pretty much, in my estimation, I give Birth of a Nation 9 out of 10. It should have made more money. Some people say that they lied, that they made $7 million. Some people say it made $14 million. I personally feel it should have made $100 million for this movie because of how the acting, showing the realization of slavery, showing the fighting, showing just the overall brutality of slavery and what happened during that era, and showing people fighting back against it. Just the whole story of Nat Turner and the screen is incredible to me, and I think it did a very good job. But because of this case and because of these feminists, it's not going to be as popular because of this. But people will go to a Woody Allen movie. I don't know what the money rate is for the new Medea's Halloween movie, but I guarantee it's going to skyrocket that. But I'm pretty much done watching slave movies after this one, unless they come out with something with the Gullah Wars or Harriet Tubman. But people need to go watch it. Nate Parker did a great job. Another thing that people need to get over is the fact that he has a white woman. Okay, it doesn't matter as long as he's bringing the movie to life and Nat Turner to life in the movie. Okay, if feminists have something to complain about Sandusky getting 30 more charges and he might get off those charges. Complain about the young boys and men who get raped in prison, and complain about women getting oppressed in Middle Eastern countries. Okay, Seriously, you people need to stop being hypocrites. Shout out to Birth of a Nation. Shout out to Nate Parker. Great movie. 9 out of 10. Peace.